Hey guys, it's Jackie, and this is the state of my dreads. But really, I wanted to talk to you guys about somewhat controversial topic of elastic bands in dreadlocks, because people like to tell people exactly what to do with their dreads, and elastic bands, rubber bands seem to be controversial because people will be like, absolutely never use any, never ever ever, and other people will be like, yeah, use them for every single dread in your hair and it'll hold them all together, magic. And I think neither are absolutely right, and I wanted to share my opinion of what I think the best applications, the pros and cons of using rubber bands in your hair are. So without further ado, I've got this example guy, and I wanted to start off with the pros, because who doesn't love hearing the good news first, right? So I'm gonna have to put my hair up for this, but pro number one is holding together a stubborn baby dread, like at the nape of your neck. By the way, my hair has like extensions in and half knot extensions in because I'm in the middle. I have this many to go. That's why it's all cray. But do you see this little guy here? He's all like, I'm a baby. I don't wanna behave. So you gotta make him your bitch and make him behave a little bit, right? And what I would do, especially because when I started my dreads, this hair was only this long, if not a bit shorter, and it would never stay together. It drove me nuts. I'd have to crochet hook it all the time. What I would do is I would section out my hair like ninja mirrors around the bathroom to section the back of my hair, and I would just gently section out the hair and take an elastic and pop it on, and it would hold it together. And then I'd crochet the area below the elastic band, and in doing so, and letting it stay there for about a week's time, it would help me to get even just a half centimeter of dreaded hair, so it would actually stick together by itself, and I wouldn't have to be redoing the entire nape of my neck every freaking day. That's a pain in the ass, and I feel for you people who are going through that. Pro number two is that you can use elastics to help hair stick together on a fresh dread. And this set of dreads that I have in my hair right now is pretty fresh. I'm trying to find some loose hair for you to show you an example. So this will do. Do you guys see this loose hair? Do you see this? So if you don't want to crochet it in, you're not sure how, you can take this hair. One, do not do this. Do not just wrap it straight around in a circle around your dread like that. That's going to create a weak spot, and that's also going to make you get loops eventually, especially with larger dreads. I just had to fix someone's dreads who were like that, so don't do that. What you want to do is make a gentle dread hug and a gentle spiral. And while your dreads are young and wanting to eat all the hair around them and tangling together, you can make a gentle dread spiral like this, gentle hug, and put an elastic band around the base of that hair. Put it in loosely and leave it in for a few days. You can even crochet hook it in a little bit if you want to, but generally it will help that hair kind of stick into the other dread. So there's that application. Actually, since I'm putting in extensions and won't lose track of this, I'm going to leave it in. See, practice what you preach. I'm doing it, girl. Then I lost my bright colored one. Where'd it go? Anyway, I've used elastics that were brightly colored to mark dreads that I wanted to work on. So I'd take it and I just put it loosely around the dread that I wanted to work on, so I could remember a day or two later when I actually had time to work on that dread that I wanted to work on it. Meaning, crochet hook it or take it apart and redo it or whatever. I left these in to mark my hair, and the bright colors really helped me figure out which ones I actually wanted to work on. This is what it looks like when you're putting extensions in your hair. It's ridiculous. It's a secret. Don't tell anyone. And then the last pro of using elastics in your hair is obviously sectioning your hair. I mean, you want to have parts between your dreads that are pretty neat, because it will help you determine, like, oh, this loose hair goes into this dread, and I can tell because there's a part there. And it helps you keep them all apart. Get it? Part apart. But when you are making your dreads, you really should take them out of the root. And I say that because when you make your dreads, you want to get your roots as close to your scalp as possible dreaded. And if that rubber band is in there, it's going to create a blocker away from your scalp, and it's going to make it a little bit looser than it normally would be. I mean, it's up to you what you do, but you need to take them out, especially even if you want to make them with the rubber band in, so it's a really clean part, which it won't be any different if you have it in or not when you make it. It'll just be a little tighter. You need to take them out very soon on new dreads because they can get tangled in so easily, and it's really, especially at the root, painful and tedious to get them all out. And you don't want to have like 50, 30, 40 of those in your hair, or 90 in my case. No, don't do that. So the cons of these, they can get stuck in new dreads, and I'm going to put my hair back now so I don't look as freaky. And what I mean by that is, you know, your new dreads have tons of loose hair around them, right? Like, look at this guy. This guy hasn't even been in anyone's hair. It's brand new, just made. They can get stuck in your hair, especially up here at the root. You're just like, oh shit, oh god, it's stuck. What am I going to do? Ah! It can get stuck. And I'm exaggerating with this, but they really can get tightly stuck in. And actually around the root of this guy, where it's tight, it's already starting to wrap around the hair. I don't know how well you can see that. Can you see? Can you see what I mean? It's stuck. You don't want to do that. So be careful with your new dreads. They really want to pull in all the possible hair they can. They're like little hair black holes, you know. Careful. Another thing I want to say is if you need to rubber band the root and the tip of every single one of your dreads just to wash your hair, girl, you did not make them tight enough to begin with. Like, this dread, I could wash it and I'd probably only lose about this much of the dreading. It's dreaded to about here. I'd probably only lose this much, and that's no big deal, especially with new dreads. But if your dreads are falling completely apart when you take your first shower, with the exception of dreads done in twisted coils or, you know, on different, with that exception of the little coils on type 4 really kinky hair, you shouldn't need to worry about showering or getting your hair wet even in the first week because your dread should be sturdier. If it makes you feel better, you can put a rubber band at the very end of your loose hairs because these probably are not ever going to really dread up. You can do that, or you can blunt the tips and then your hair really won't come out, but honestly, you shouldn't need to do that, so try to avoid it if possible. I mean, I have this much, but your hair is never going to unravel all the way if you've got a sturdy body to begin with, of the dread, that is. A horror story I've heard about using rubber bands is that they can melt into your dread. Now, this material is not very, you know, time hardy or anything, and with the bright, beautiful sunshine, with the blow drying, if you blow dry, with all that, these can like erode. Shampooing, water, drying, all that stuff is hard on this material, and it can erode and work its way almost into your dread, and you really don't want to have that happen. So be careful not to lose these. That would take a really long time to occur, but I've seen it occur and it's not pretty. So try not to lose track of these because they can melt into your dread. Melt, not actual melt. I'm sure you could try to melt them, but don't do it. Don't do it. And then, so now I have like my little blanket rules about, I guess I shouldn't say rules because it's your hair. You can choose what you want. But my blanket guidelines of using rubber bands in your dreads are the following. Don't put it in too tight because it's hard to get out and it will get hair stuck in it and ripped out. And you know, even if you've got free-flowing hair, that these rubber bands can stick and pull and hurt and snap your hairs off even if you don't have dreads. So be careful with these. You shouldn't use them all over your head because if you do, you're more likely to lose track of them. You're more likely to get them stuck, and it's just going to not be fun to get them out. So try not to do that. Don't do them too tight. Here I've done one really tight into this thread, and you can see almost a sausage link, you know, with the dread. You don't want to do that because it'll let this hair dread. It'll let this hair dread. But this hair in between won't dread. And if you leave this in for a long time really tight like this, it's going to leave a weak spot in your dread where this hair won't be dreaded. And that's long enough to cause problems in a long dread like this. You don't want that hair to be undreaded. It would take a lot to fix it. So don't put them in too tight. It can pull your hair out and it can damage your hair, and happy hair makes happy dread, so don't damage it. And the last overall blanket rule is don't rip them out when they're stuck. This tight dread, this tight guy, he's stuck in here. Oh, I'm gonna rip him out. Oh, it broke. I'm just gonna rip. I'm gonna rip. It can pull hairs out. It can cause damage, and luckily this one didn't because it was only in for like half an hour, but it can cause damage, so be careful. Don't do that. Be kind to your dreads. I'll be kind to you. Don't do this. But yeah, I hope that information was helpful to you. I hope it helped you make an informed decision on what you would like to do with your dreads. And I hope that I wasn't too opinionated one way or another. I hope I was objective. So leave your opinions, your stories, whatever down here in the comments. And I'll see you later. Goodbye.